MAGA world seems to understand that Donald Trump not going to be around forever. In fact, I think you've even got some MAGA folks starting to realize he may not be around come December. He might not even be here for Thanksgiving at this point with the way he is physically and mentally decaying right before our very eyes. And even if he does, if his health doesn't crap out on him and he makes it to the end of his term, MAGA also understands he is done after that. All his blowhard talk about, I'll do a third term, they know that both legally and physically it ain't going to happen. So now they're kind of scratching their heads wondering, well, what do we do? Who's going to be our savior? Because this guy can't be it no more. Well, according to analyst Amanda Marcotti, she thinks that they think they've found that savior. And unfortunately, it's another Trump, but it's not one of the two idiot older sons. No, it's none other than Barron Trump himself. MAGA seems to be abandoning their faith in Donald Trump of being their long-term savior and instead has switched over, and they're apparently putting all their future hopes and dreams on 19-year-old Barron Trump. Let me read you what Marcotti wrote here. The MAGA movement lives in perpetual jealousy of mainstream culture, attributing their lack of coolness to a liberal conspiracy to shut right-wing folks out of celebrity. But as demonstrated by the uncool musical acts that showed up to perform at Charlie Kirk's memorial in September, it's really more that the MAGA world is simply too mediocre and out of touch to produce artists or celebrities that impress people outside of their own circles. Ironically, it may be Barron Trump's relative silence that makes him such a fantasy object on the right. They want so badly to have the Trump family produce glamorous, charismatic figures like the Kennedys, but the ones who actually plop themselves in front of microphones and cameras are annoying and awful, turning off everyone who isn't already in the MAGA fold. Barron Trump, though, is both tall and quiet, making him a visible presence that they can project all their hopes on. Well, at least as long as the family can keep more humiliating pictures of him hanging out with his parents from leaking to the press. Now, I love her analysis, by the way. I think it's hilarious and accurate. But I've mentioned in the past that Barron Trump, I think, very easily could have a political future, depending on, obviously, a lot of things. The biggest, of course, is, does he even want a political future? Is this the life that he wants? Is this the life that he will want 16 years in the future when he is finally even old enough to run for president of the United States? Again, the kid is 19. 16 years before he hits the age of 35, where he can then legally run for president. So I don't know if you need to know this, but a lot can happen to an individual, to a country, to anything in 16 years. But that is the one thing that can also work to his advantage. 13 years from now, when this administration has ended, well, 3 years from now, there'll be 13 years left on the ticker, right? 13 years is a long-ass time for the American public to forget about the failures of his father. Most of them will. Some of them will not. But most of them will. Which is why you got a lot of people who were sickened by the Capitol riot who still voted for Donald Trump 4 years later. Less than 4 years later. Okay? 21 years of political experience covering American politics. People forget things very quickly. By the end of Obama's first term, George W. Bush's approval rating had gone up to the 70s, folks. At the time, he was one of the most hated men to ever serve in office. 4 years later, almost 75% of the country was like, yeah, I really liked the guy. People forget quickly. So that time that Barron Trump has before he's legally able to run for president is his biggest benefit. But is he going to have his father's same ability to manipulate very stupid people? That remains to be seen. He obviously helped Donald Trump out tremendously during the campaign, told him to get in the, podcast bro sphere, which worked well for him. So he's not a complete dullard like his two older brothers. Maybe he could, maybe he couldn't. Maybe he'll mature in college and realize, hey, conservatism sucks. I'm actually a pretty far progressive leftist. There's no telling what happens. He may grow up to hate all of the policies his father instituted and decide to run for office so that he can fix the damage his dad did. Anything's possible, but right now, the MAGA movement seems to think that Barron is their only hope for the future. And if I were them, I wouldn't be holding your breath. Thanks for watching, and if you are not already subscribed to the channel, please do so, and do not forget to like and comment and share widely among your friends.